Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and we're back with another monthly reading wrap up, this time for March. We're just gonna talk about all the books that I finished this month. I am filming this video a little bit early, so it is currently the 27th of March, but we are leaving on a trip to Spain for spring break in a couple of days, and so I wanted to make sure I had time to film this and get it edited and up before we left. So that's what's happening, but these are all the books that I finished up to this point. If I finish any more books this month, then I'll just include them in my April wrap up, but we'll just dive right into it. February, I read an insane amount of books if you watched my wrap up from last month, but March was a lot slower for me. So we don't have quite as many books to talk about, but some of them I am really excited about. The first book that I finished in March was the Black Powder War by Naomi Novik. This is book 3 in the TBR series. Hope I'm saying that somewhat right. But this is basically a whole series about the Napoleonic Wars, but if dragons were involved. So it's really fun. I love the characters. I gave this one 4 stars. I think this was a good continuation. It definitely isn't the most fast-paced series overall. Like, it's just not really meant to be. It's more about the world and about the battles and stuff like that than like a fast-paced plot. But I do really love them. I love the characters. They're so much fun. It's very interesting. In this book, we actually started overlapping with some of the stuff that takes place in War and Peace, which, if you know, I've read that one a couple times, but it was very interesting to see it from like a fantasy standpoint, see some of the ways that they changed it up, and you were following a different side of the war. You were following, I think, basically the Germans. It might be a different name at that point, might be Prussians, I don't know, but anyways, they are joined up with a different side than what you see in War and Peace. So it was a very interesting book. I liked it. It's a good continuation. I don't feel like I have a ton of specific thoughts about this. There are definitely some parts that dragged a little bit, but I still love the series. I'm still definitely going to continue. So I'm excited to get into the next one of these when I get around to that. Then the next book that I finished was an audiobook, and this is Ghost of Greenglass House by Kate Milford. These are middle grade. This is like a series of middle grade books based on this boy named Milo who lives with his parents who run a smuggler's inn. And it's just like really fun, whimsical, but mystery. Both of the first and second books are set over Christmas break, and they end up with a collection of odd characters at their inn, stuck inside for different reasons, but there's like mysteries that you're solving. They're like thieves, like thefts, more so than like murder mysteries, but it's really fun. You're just watching this kid as he goes about solving it. This one was just exactly, I feel like it matched the first one really well. I gave it 4 stars. There weren't as many like big reveals necessarily in this one, but it's a fun mystery. It's really wholesome. If you're looking for a good audiobook, I love this narrator. My biggest qualm though is that the narrator only did the first 2 books, and so the rest of the series is with a different narrator, and so I'm a little bummed about that. So I might just read them and not listen to them. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. I'll have to see what the other narrator sounds like, but that is kind of bumming me out a little bit because I really like the narrator on these, so I'm a little bit sad that they only did the first 2 books, but it's fine. And then the next one was kind of random. I don't even know how I found this book, to be honest. I'm sure I saw it on the internet somewhere. I have no idea. But that is 4 Dead Queens by Astrid Schultz. I actually really enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I was going to. I gave it a 4.25. I feel like it's always a risk when you pick random books that you're not sure where you got recommended them from. And this one started a little slow. It took me a minute to get into it, but by the end, I was really loving it. I thought it was really good. I thought the plot was very interesting. There were some good plot twists. You're following essentially this kingdom that is divided up into 4 quadrants, and there's a queen for each quadrant. And then, like the title says, each of the queens die, and you're kind of trying to solve this murder mystery plot. And you're following that. And then one of the main characters that you're following is this kind of like pickpocket character, and then she runs into this messenger guy and they get some vital information and they end up teaming up to try and kind of solve the case. But really fun, really interesting world. It feels like it should be fantasy, but it's more sci-fi. You have different quadrants that focus on different things. So like the messenger is from this quadrant where they're like doing genetic variations on people to try and like develop the perfect human or something like that. So everybody gets like their trait or their genetics changed before they're born to fit them for a specific job. So he's been specifically given the genes of a messenger, and so you're kind of following that. And then she's from one that's like more the fishing part. There's one that's solely based on like music and the arts. It's a very interesting world. I feel like for being a standalone book, it developed the world really well. I thought the characters were super fun and lovable, and the plot was really good. So overall, I'd really recommend this one. Again, I have no idea where I found it originally, but it was really good, and I think I definitely will look into some of this author's other books. I know they have more. I'm not 100% sure what they are or what they're about, but I think I'll look into them at some point. And then the next book that I finished is the reason why I didn't read more books this month, and that is because I read Palace Walk by Naib. I got a lot of mixed messages on the internet on how to say this name. So if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. I've heard Naib and I've heard Nagib. I don't know which one's right. Mahfouz. So that's what it is. Please correct my pronunciation because the internet didn't have a good consensus for me. But this one was specifically for a video that will be coming out soon, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But this one is kind of a older classic-esque book from Egypt, and you're basically just following this family. And that is the entire plot, is you're just following them through their lives for a little bit. This ends in quite a weird place. This is a trilogy. And so I don't know where I expected it to cut off, but that was not it. I don't know. It was a little wild where it ended, but I don't know if I enjoyed this one enough to want to continue the series. I gave it a 3-star. It was all right. I have more in-depth thoughts coming in a video soon. And then the next book that I finished was one that I've been waiting for to come in from the library. So I finally got it on Libby, and that is Painted Devils. This is book 2 in the Little Thieves series by Margaret Owen. I love this series. It's so good. The first book, so good. I got into this book and I honestly was a little bit nervous because at the very beginning there's like an author's note that basically says this story is all about love. This is like at its heart a love story, and I was like, like, great. Are we gonna go into like romantic-y vibes? Like, that's not what I wanted from the series. I love the like snarky, bickering, funny characters, and the like thief plotline and all of that. So I was a little bit nervous. I don't really love romance in my books all that much, so I wasn't sure about this one, but it actually ended up being so good. It is very focused on love, but it's not necessarily just romance love. Like, there's a lot of talks about family and the family that you are blood related to versus the family that you build, and just like every type of relationship. There's a lot of talk about child-parent relationships, and you get a few different examples of that. So there is like a romantic relationship that you're following from the first book, but then it manages to maintain that just super snarky, fun, super interesting plot, but it does have a lot of that in that. I will say there is a lot of talk about sex in this book, but it's done in a way that still maintains pretty closed door. That being said, where this is a YA book, I think this is part of the issue with YA spanning so many ages. I don't know that this would be like a younger YA. Like, I feel like some of the topics, especially because one of the characters is kind of dealing with overcoming some sexual assault and dealing with that as she's now in a new relationship, and so there's some deeper topics in it that I don't know if like a 12-year-old should be reading, but I think for older YA it's fine. I think it still maintains like closed door. I think it's a lot of topics that people have made rather taboo but don't necessarily need to be, and I think it's talked about and depicted in a very healthy way. So take that as you will. As somebody who doesn't like spice, I don't like that in my books at all. It sometimes verged a little bit too much, but it was nothing that like I was so uncomfortable I felt the need to like skim read or anything. So there's my thoughts on that. I don't really know where I was going with that, but just as a heads up, I don't know. I think I'd proceed with caution if you were trying to give this to like younger kids. That being said, I'm so impatient for the third book to come out. I know a lot of people are like that, and I purposely kind of waited to read these books until I knew the third one was coming out soon, because the second one ends off on a very big cliffhanger. And so the first one kind of wrapped things up mostly. The second one does not do that. It is very much so a cliffhanger. I'm really excited. I'm really hoping that my Libby gets a copy quickly so that I can read it, but I am very excited for the third one. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think it's just a solid book. I love the world. I love fantasy worlds that are based off of different types of folklore that you don't see as often. But yeah, overall, really good book. And then the last book I actually just barely finished like 10 minutes ago, and that is The Other Americans by Laila Lalami. This one is also in the same video as Palace Walk, so more in-depth thoughts will be coming, especially after I've had some time to process and think through my thoughts. But this one is an interesting book. It's like a lit fic book, but there's also a, not really murder mystery, but like sort of. You're following, basically the premise is this man is leaving his restaurant that he owns late at night, and he gets hit and killed in a hit and run. And so you're following all of these different people that are part of this tangled web of his life, right? So you follow his daughter, his wife, the person who owns the business next to him, the detective that is assigned the case, the daughter's like childhood friend who also happens to be a police officer, this whole slew of characters, right? And you're kind of following how it impacts them. There's definitely like an investigation and case going on throughout the whole book, but it's not written like a murder mystery. It's much more written like a lit fic book. But it's very interesting. There's also, if you couldn't tell from the title, lots of conversations going on about racism and how that affects these people's lives. You've got a bunch of characters from a whole bunch of different backgrounds. The man and his family came from Morocco. You've got someone who's from Mexico, I believe. You've got a couple characters that are like born and raised in California. You've got the detective's black. So you get like this whole slew, and it's very interesting how she depicts how their different backgrounds have led to them like having the discrimination in different ways, and how each of them, just based off their life experiences, kind of have a different view of it. But it's a very fascinating book. I think it's very well written. There's a couple characters that I didn't really like. The childhood friend and his like buddy from the army are not my favorite. The childhood friend I don't mind as much, but the buddy from the army is just really annoying. Also, as a heads up, there are quite a few racial slurs in this book written lots of times in the characters remembering things that were done to them. So you do see that a lot. So just as a heads up on that, I could see this having a lot of really triggering topics in it. So please read the trigger warnings, because I could definitely see there being a lot. So overall it was fine. I think I'm giving it like a 3.5 stars. It was nothing spectacular, but it was better than I expected it to be. So that's The Other Americans. And that was the final book that I finished this month. So now I want to go over really quick my TBR for April. Again, I am going on vacation this month, so we'll see what all I manage to get through. Hopefully I will get some reading done while I'm on my trip. But starting with the audiobook that I'm currently in the middle of, I'm listening to, again, so random, I was Googling, trying to find just some like fun, lighthearted books. Like I didn't want anything crazy. So I'm reading the book called, or listening to the book called Frog Kisser by Garth Nix. I'm literally like 4% into this. Like how far is that? I'm like 20 minutes into this book, so I'm not far at all. But it's basically about this girl whose stepdad, that's what they call him, has managed to work his way in, and he's trying to take over the throne, but her older sister is supposed to inherit the throne, and she's got the ability to like break curses with kiss. Anyways, we haven't really gotten to that part in the book, so I don't really know what all that's about. So far all that's happened is you've kind of got the background. You find out that she can talk to the dogs, Her stepdad likes to enchant people into animals, and her older sister sobs a lot, and the stepdad just turned the older sister's boyfriend, suitor guy into a frog, and he is out in the moat. And so that's as far as I've gotten. I don't know. It sounds just like a funny, goofy one. We'll see. I don't know. I'll probably listen to it a bit on our trip, but that's my current audiobook. And then the book that I am taking, and then the book that I am hoping to finish before March ends. So this is technically a March read, but this is People Like Them. This is the last book for my video that I keep talking about. But I'm hoping I can finish this before I leave so that a video comes up and not too long after this. But this one is a bit more of like a thriller suspense novel set in the French Alps. And I think it's gonna be really fun. So I'm hoping to read this over the next couple days. So this was technically a March book, but I will probably be talking about it in April. It will be in a video coming up hopefully very soon. And then the book that I'm planning on taking to Spain is this one. I like to read authors from the places I'm going. And so this one is by Spanish authors. It's actually a bind up of 2 books. The first one is Lazarillo de Tormes, and the other one is The Swindler. Let's see, who are they by? Does it tell me? Lazarillo de Tormes is I think that's the one that nobody's sure who the author is. Like, it's just this classic that's been around for forever, but nobody knows who wrote it. And then I think The Swindler is by Francisco de Quevedo. So that's my read. It's 2 little books. They're both basically about like these delinquents who are just going around being beggars and thieves and causing chaos, and they're little boys. I don't know. They call them picturesque novels, I think. Anyways, I don't know much about it, but I'm gonna take it with me to Spain and I'm gonna read it while I'm there, and it'll be fun. So that's my pick. I was going to try and read Don Quixote while I was there, but I decided it was too big to want to carry around like the novel with me, and I couldn't get it from Libby in a good amount of time, and there's not a good audiobook of it. So here I am with a different book. But and then a couple other books that I want to read just in general. It's The Battle for Wendla. This is book 2 in the Wendla series. I was going to try and get to this one in March, but then Palace Walk took me a lot longer than I expected, so this one is now happening in April. I need to make that happen so I don't spread this trilogy out too long. These are rereads for me. It's middle grade, dystopian, sci-fi vibes, aliens, lots of fun creatures. She's like the last human on the planet. They're super fun. I love them. And then the other book that I really am going to prioritize this month is Foul Heart Huntsman by Chloe Gong. This is the last book in the Secret Shanghai series. And then I will be done, which I'm a little bit sad about, but I'm so excited to read this book. The first book in this duology ended off on such a such a cliffhanger. And so I need to get to this one soon. I honestly can't believe I've managed to restrain myself this long and make myself read books for videos specifically, but this one will be happening in April. And then I've talked a lot about the Little Thief series already, but the 3rd book is supposed to come out on March 31st. So hopefully my library gets a copy really quickly and I will get that one in April. I've got it on the Notify Me. Hopefully I can get online pretty quick and it won't take too long. I also recently learned that there is an online series of short stories called The Fallow Year. Anyways, might go check those out. We'll see. I haven't really dug into it that far. I think they're on AO3 or something like that, but I might look into those while I wait for the last book to come out. But I'm very excited. The 3rd book's called Holy Terrors. I think it's gonna be super good. Again, that plot twist or that cliffhanger at the end, I really need the 3rd book to come out soon. And then the last 3 are specifically for a video that I have planned for April. So if you want to try and guess what the video is, that is the common theme between these. The first one is Alice in Wonderland's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. This is a bind up of both of them. I obviously know these stories really well, but I've never read the original books, so I'm excited to make that happen finally. There are pictures. It's gonna be super good, but I think this will just be a perfect one for April, and I'm excited about it. I do also really like the movies that they did of the two of them, so I'm interested to see how similar it is to the source material. And then I have decided that April is the month that I am going to do a reread of The Hobbit. I have read The Hobbit probably 3 or 4 times in my life now, but last year for my birthday, my in-laws got me the illustrated edition of it, and so I feel like I need to do another reread just so I can read the illustrated edition. But I'm really excited about this. The pictures are good. I actually love The Hobbit. Lord of the Rings is less fun in my opinion. I don't love that one as much, but I do really love The Hobbit. And then the last book on my April TBR is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I haven't read a Brandon Sanderson book in a minute, it feels like. I'm trying to think of what, I'm not even sure what the last one was that I read. It's been a minute, but I'm going to pick this one up next. I know this is part of the Cosmere sort of, but it doesn't super matter when you read it. You could read this one first. I do definitely need to get back into my Stormlight Archive read. I've only read the first one, so I need to get to the second one, whatever it's called. Words of Radiance. I need to read that one sometime this year, but I think I'm gonna do Tress of Emerald Sea first, and then I'll get back around to that one at some point. But that is everything that I read in March and my April TBR. I hope you enjoyed. If you have read any of these books and have any thoughts, or if you have any recommendations for me based off of these books, please let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one very soon. Bye.